woke up pissed off today, and baby, everyone feels fake. Somewhere I lost a piece of me, smoking cigarettes on balconies. But I can't do this alone. Sometimes I just need a light. If I call you on the phone and you're on the other side, so when your tears roll down your pillow like a river, I'll be there for you, I'll be there for you. When you're screaming but they only hear you whisper, I'll be loud for you, I'll be loud for you. I got you, I promise. Let me be honest. Love is a road that goes both ways. When your tears roll down your pillow like a river, I'll be there for you. But you gotta be there for me too. Took a toll on me, but I made it with you next to me. Around the world and back again. I hope you're waiting at the end, but I can't do this alone. Sometimes I just need a light. If I call you on the phone and you're on the other side, so when your tears roll down your pillow like a river, I'll be there for you, I'll be there for you. When you're screaming but they only hear you whisper, I'll be loud for you, I'll be loud for you. Took a toll on me, but I made it with you next to me. Around the world and back again. I hope you're waiting at the end, but I can't do this alone. Sometimes I just need a light. If I call you on the phone and you're on the other side, so when your tears roll down your pillow like a river, I'll be there for you, I'll be there for you. When you're screaming but they only hear you whisper, I'll be loud for you, I'll be loud for you. I got you, I promise. Let me be honest. Love is a road that goes both ways. When your tears roll down your pillow like a river, I'll be there for you. But you gotta be there for me too.
Panginoon, Ikaw ang lumikha ng lahat ng bagay dito sa lupa, langit at sa aming buhay. Dalos namin ang iyong kapangyarihan, dalastas namin ang iyong kadakilaan. Sa iyo nagbuhat ng hininga sa aming mga ilong, buhay at aming kaluluwa. Patawarin mo sana kami sa mga kasalanang nagawa, sa isip, gawa at sa aming salita. Iyong lapatan ng kalinisan ang aming puso at isipan. Maraming salamat po sa mga taong palaging nandyan, na sa hirap man o ginhawa ay hindi kami iniiwanan. Maraming salamat din po sa kalakasan, katalinuhan at kapasyahan. Gayon din sa masayang pamilya, mga mapagkakatiwalaang kaibigan at mga kakilala. Pinapanalangin namin sa iyo, Ama, na bigyan mo ang aming institusyon ng kinabukasang masagana. Ang institusyong ito ay hindi perpekto, pero hindi po ito hadlang upang mapalayo kami sa iyo. Panginoon, sa iyo ay kami nananalig, dahil wari namin na sa bawat panahon, ika'y laging nakikinig. Panginoon, gabayan mo po ang aming presidente, kasama na po ang mga vice presidente, mga dekana at dekano, mga direktor, guro, tauhan at mga estudyante ng aming paaralan, na lahat ng mga gawain at plano ay upang mapabuti ang pangkalahatan. Ikaw lamang po ang may kapangyarihan na tustusan ang aming pangangailangan. Gabayan niyo po sila sa pagganap ng kanilang mga katungkulan. Pinapanalangin namin ito sa ngalan ni Jesus, na aming Panginoon, magpakailanman. Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang mag-ibig, helas ng silanganan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyag ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisigil, sa nagatang tutok sa simoy at sa langit mo pagaw, ay hinatang tula, kawin sa pagkayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na nagtitigil, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may magtitigil. Lumalang araw ng walhati pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pagkay mga amin, ang mamatay ng We live with you through the years, with love and devotion. We live by your inspiration. We give our praise and songs to hear Nonescost Virtuamurals. Wherever we may go, we still remember you, serving us our life. We give our all and might, with love and devotion. We live by your inspiration. We give our praise and songs to hear Nonescost Virtuamurals. We give our praise and songs to hear Nonescost Virtuamurals.
Stars align and fate came together to make this a day to remember. Our competitive spirit and the line of enthusiasm encouraged us the same way the sun does. Hello everyone, my name is Armin Christian Magno.
Intramurals is one of the most awaited events in our school, where we compete with different departments in a variety of school events or even in the writing event. The essence of everyone's knowledge will be showcased through literacy and the freedom to write what they want. Good day everyone, I am Elijah C. Lumatak and we cordially invite you to this year's Virtuamurals with the theme Niching and Future-Proofing of Nonescost Athletes and Artists for Global Recognition.
On behalf of Culture, Art and Sports Office, headed by Sir Hernando C. Cabahaga, we virtually welcome you all.
And we're back again to give you the up-to-date happenings for today's episode.
Whose literary piece of art stands out?
And among the rest, whose hard work will be paid off.
In our recent episode, we witnessed how graceful and flamboyant our participants were.
And we also observed how dedicated our contestants towards their craft and how enthusiasm fuels their competitive spirits.
Literary English is a register of English used for literary writing or literary criticisms and analysis on literary work.
Literature, a body of written works. The name has traditionally been applied to those imaginative works of poetry and prose, distinguished by the intention of their authors and the perceived aesthetic excellence of their execution.
Because English has become one of our most widely spoken language, the idea of holding a literary competition is not ideal, but rather a demonstration that anyone can write a good English piece.
True, partner. English has been identified as one of the fundamental demands that all students must be aware of. In that regard, here are the highlights of today's event.
For our first category, we will have an essay writing contest.
Followed by the extemporaneous speech contest.
Yes, you're right, partner. After that category, script writing contest will be followed.
And lastly, partner, we will be having a storytelling contest. And I wonder, whose story will we choose?
See, partner, with the brilliant minds of the Nonescostians, I'm pretty sure our panel of judges will be having a hard time to choose.
I agree, partner. These competitions would be impossible to hold without the attendance of these influential individuals.
Let's give a virtual round of applause to our panel of judges.
And to avoid unneeded situations, the participants should also take the proper health precautions.
Leaders help us create a better nation to live in. They impose rules and regulations that help us govern our nation better. So the question that was thrown to me, and as I quote, as a registered voter, what would be your preference for your presidential candidate? Performance, popularity, command, character, and why? Among these, I would choose as my preference in voting for the right leader that would govern our nation would be character. And to thoroughly explain my choice, I would like to focus my thoughts in 3 focal points, specifically stating 3 characters which I would like a leader to possess. First would be courageous. For me, courage is everything, means everything to every presidential candidate. Because if you were courageous enough to stand for your people, if you give voice to those who were being oppressed in our society, if you give importance to the issues that arise today, then we would be able to create a more peaceful and prosperous nation. Second would be selflessness. I believe that if a presidential candidate was to put his shoes onto the shoes of its people, then he would be able to know what concerns, what matters that arises in our nation that needs to be addressed in order to safeguard the liberty of its people. I believe that our people, yes, leaders impose rules and regulations, but rules and regulations should not make its people be shackled by it. The leader shouldn't oppress its people. So I believe that selflessness is a key factor for that a leader must possess. And lastly, that would be his persistence to work hard for what is just, for what is right, to choose what is right in whatever dilemma he is facing, to persistent enough to work to resolve these issues that continues to arise each year for the benefit of its people. So in choosing a presidential candidate, I believe that popularity, command, and such means nothing if your leader doesn't have the character, a good character trait that a leader must have in governing its people. A character that doesn't oppress its people, a character that doesn't use his power in order to have an advantage in our society, a character that is brave enough to fight for the rights of its people. So this coming elections, I encourage everybody to look not on the census of how many people will vote for this candidate, how many people will be voting for that candidate, the things that he was able to contribute to the society. Not only that, that is one factor, but it is also to look beyond the lines, to look to their character, and to understand their intentions, why they run for such position, why they intended to govern its people. Because I think these days we need a leader who thinks of its people, not of his position, not of not only about the issues, but really its people and how this nation, specifically the Philippines, could foster and grow. And that will be all. Thank you.
To the school president, Dr. Renante A. Egcas, to the professors and instructors, to my schoolmates, classmates, and friends, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant day to all. You know, as a registered voter and a responsible citizen of the Philippines, we must choose a candidate that fits to our core. And I believe that these four, the performance, the character, the popularity, and the command, are very important in selecting a candidate. But nevertheless, since I was asked a question of what exactly my criteria, I would choose the character. During this pandemic, during this social media, cancel culture exists. If you talk about politics, everyone or your friends have different opinion, they might cancel you. But here's the thing, we are all Filipinos and we should be a pro-Filipino. We should select a candidate that will help the Philippines to grow, to be better, and to be the best country. And I believe that having a character will make a person choose the right decision and instill to people what exactly or who is exactly she or he is. I have 3 reasons why I select character. First is your values or your principles in life. If you believe that something is good or evil, for example, if you believe that a person who have sinned or a person who have committed a mistake or committed a murder should be killed, well, that is your belief and I respect that. But as for me, if I have that kind of principle that I believe that everyone should be given a second chance, then I must select a leader that have the same belief as I have. Wherein your values and principles are very important. Whoever the candidate that you select will be reflected on who exactly you are. Second, the personality. The personality of a candidate must be someone brave, must someone be as vocal, intelligent, and knows how to address the concern properly. And if we have this kind of candidate, then we might be able to have a better country. We might have a better approach on certain problems like the current pandemic. This is important. We have to make an effective plan or strategy concerning about the virus and the proper implementation of vaccination. And with that kind of personality or mindset, then you could be a better candidate and I would definitely choose you. The third one is the outlook in life. If you have a certain outlook in life, which is to be positive always, which is to be honest, to have a dignity, to be someone as that could be the source of light during this pandemic, we can relate to you. You might be as relatable as anyone in the industry that is showing the light for the people of hope. For these trying times, we need someone to be effective leader. When we say a leader, it doesn't mean about someone that that just lead the people and stands for people. We need someone that carries the problem of the Philippines. We need someone that is brave to conquer every problems that the Philippines is facing. And with this kind of, with a character, we can have a better future wherein a president can make a decision based on what he believes, what he or she believes in, on how it is morally acceptable or not to him. Because I believe that the performance, popularity, and command will follow if you have the character as a president or as a candidate. And for this one, I would like to also tell you that how we address the problem in social media, how we canceled our friends because we have a different opinions, it is something that we should reevaluate, because as a responsible citizen and as a student, as a registered voter, we must know that this is a democratic country wherein we can select whoever we want. We can select a candidate. We can vote for a candidate that fits in our morality, that fits on what we believe in our lives. And I think If we have this kind of mindset, we could create a peaceful environment, and we could also have a we could also have a responsibility, or we could be responsible in using social media. We could effectively use the social media to voice out our concern. Remember, your character is very important when you apply a job. And with selecting a president is like also presenting themselves, selling themselves, showing who really they are. And that's what we should look into. Also, we need facts. We have to base our votes or our decision in facts. And I believe that would be all. Thank you.
Yes, so before I start to answer my questions, the question I'd like to greet first our college department head, headed by Dr. Lucapin, and of course my what's it called that my my trainer and coach, Mrs. Ernie Flor, and of course I'd like to greet all of my co-students who's currently watching to their homes because of this pandemic. Yeah, so I think as a Filipino citizen and a member of Gen Z, or what we call the new generation of youth, I think I'm gonna be choosing performance because if my president has a good performance, it comes with the command. What are the laws that he is going to implement? What are the rules that he will going to discuss to the citizens? And of course, it also comes with the popularity. If our new president, or the upcoming president, has a good performance, he or she will be popular among the other country, and she will be an inspiration from a different town or country. And being a responsible voter, I want to use myself as an example because I'm currently staying here in Manila and working here far away from my family. And then I decided to go back next year to vote and to choose what is right. So I'm encouraging my co-youth, the new Gen Z, to look for the performance instead of a different aspect, because everything will comes up, everything will follow if our new president has a good performance. Good performance, or a better performance, comes with responsibility, um, anti-corruption, and it also comes with the love of um, of being a president to its people. So it's like a parent, a mother, or a father who love their children. So if you were a good president, and you are aiming for a better performance for your country, then your country will be successful, and they will not gonna have like a different problems, especially this pandemic. We have a different problems when it comes to budgeting, facilities in every hospital, and of course the medicines, and what do you call that, the vaccination as well. So I prefer to choose performance among them all, because when you have a better performance, everything will follow. Everything will be guided accordingly to what is your responsibility as well, for the title itself as a president. So yeah, I'm encouraging my new generation, Gen Z, and from 18 years old and above, to please follow the guidelines and register to vote. And we still have, I think, until the 30th of this month, which is October. So please be registered and vote wisely for the upcoming election. That will be all, ma'am.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to the panel of judges. Good afternoon to my fellow contestants. By the way, my name is Kirk from College of Fisheries and Allied Sciences. So basically, the task that I have is what kind of presidential candidate do I need or what I'm looking for. So basically, there is two, which is performance and characteristics or the character. So being a president is not that easy. So basically, number one, the performance. This person or the future president that we will need must have this infrastructure or new business model for the growth of the economy. So basically, the one that we have now, our current situation, we are in deep mud. So we are stuck in the mud. We need to go up. We need to climb that stairs. So basically, we have or we must have a president or candidate that has a good business record, that passes the law, understands the law, and must have a degree in the law so that we can understand or he or she can understand what's going to be the best for our future. So number two, we have the character. So having a character is a must, not only the performance. So character, what I want for my president is to be adaptive, positive, and very intellectual or has the intellectual capacity to adapt in the current situation that we have. During this COVID-19, we have been struck out of nowhere. It's like we have been punched right in the face. So basically, we must be positive. So in order for us to be positive, our president must be positive, and also our president must know how to adapt in the current situation that we have right now. So basically, one is the performance. Number two, character, the adaptivity and positivity. Then number three, the last and the most important task or the most important thing that the president must have is the will. So you cannot have a good performance without a good character. You must have the will to be good, not just good, greater, but excellent. So we must choose a president that has the will to strive, has the will to change the status of our economy, has the will to provide livelihood program with our fellow Filipino people, which is now starving literally because they are unemployed. So basically, those are the most important things that I need for my president, which is the performance, not just good performance, but excellent that has a good record. It comes when it comes to business and law, so that we can amend some laws which is not really that fair. And the characteristic of being positive, adaptive, and also has the will to change the community or the national status. So that's all for today. Thank you very much for listening, and you have a wonderful day ahead. Bye for now.
Of the 1987 Philippine Constitution, the freedom of speech and the freedom of express concept. Good day, everyone. I am speaking with compact optimism and positivity and to discuss how our presidential candidates would be or how a presidential candidate to this upcoming elections could possess. So based on my perceptions or profound perceptions, I think that having a leader which has a character should be he or she. So these are my contentions on how can we achieve this through a positive feedbacks towards our own good leaders with a good character. First, a good leader with a good character offers positivity. We know that we are in the middle of this pandemic in which we lost something that could not even help us people, that could bring us down mentally, physically, economically, as well as it provides us nothing in the end. But having a leader with a compact positive mind or a compact positive mindset in life, he or she could uplift individuals with a positive response or positive responses towards their fellows. And I think having that character or having that attributes as a presidential candidate, one ought to preserve the ideas or the ideologies we have as voters. As a registered voters, I think one of the best part of having is that we people should stick to the character of an individuals leading our country. Second, a good leader with a good character possesses or offers compassion. We people always begin with something less to our own thoughts in which we cannot agree more about the issues regarding to our economic dilemmas. And I think having a compassion or having a leader with a great compassion helps us give the ideas that he could uplift himself, he could embrace ourselves as he is in our part or he is in our sides, in which we should be guided and we should be leading with a compact compassion, for we need a leaders that has a compassion within his heart. So third, a good leader with a good character offers trust and peace of mind. I think one of the best part is of being a leader is you offered a public trust. For trust is something that providing facts or factual information, public trust that could uplift individuals in sorrowness, facts in a truth in which we can apply to every individuals with a trust issues within our country. For trust issues now um, are rampant to our country. So we need a leader with offers trust and peace in which we could embrace facts towards leading our country. And I believe that um, a good leader should offer peace, for peace itself is a schism of action in which we have to act positively and respond or lessen our own profanities. And therefore, before I closed my deliverance of my speech, I would like to give you my own flowering, profound words or words of wisdom to yours. We are all imprisoned to this dungeon of truth, but we are still seeking lies to the unsealed world of lies. That we can say that we have to have a leader which has a good character. That would be all. Thank you. And may God bless you all.
Okay, so as a registered voter, I would rather choose a candidate who has the character. And in that way, it is easy for him or her to do this obligation on his or her people and in our country also. Character is the most important feature that a candidate should have for the following reasons. First, they are able to connect and interact with the people around them. And in that way, they are able to know their people, the responsibility, duties, and obligations. Second, they are able to do their duties which are suitable to their character. For example, they have the character of being honest, flexible, the perseverance, and a good character, which is very suitable to be the upcoming candidate or what position they pursue to. And third and the last one, it is easy for them to show what they can and who they are as the running candidates. Character is not just telling of who you are, but also telling of what things you can do, what things you can do to the people around you and the country also. Thus, I must say that a person's character is the most appropriate one that a candidate should have in the upcoming election. And a friendly reminder, we should choose wisely for the sake of our country. Thank you.
to our distinguished guests, to our educators, to my co-contestants, to all Nonescostians, good afternoon. I'm standing here to share my sentiments with regard to this topic, which I think that will enlighten to you about this kind of topic. So the topic that I have, it's all about what would be my preferred presidency in terms of character, fame, commands, and performance. But it would have to be, in my case, as a voter, I would have to choose which is character. We all know that leaders is someone who knows how to manage himself, who knows how to deal with um, his subordinates. Leaders should also have the passion to lead and should have the passion to at least pacify people's mind. And this is something that we want to entail as a future as a voters. We need to choose a president or a future leader which has the character. I have decided 3 points why I chose character. First, leaders should know how to feel emotions or feel his subordinates. Wherein, if that subordinate has something that he wanted to share, so a leader should have that character, should have the emotion to feel. Wherein, because in today's generation, we don't need to be to be good at. We don't need to be popular at something, but as long as your character is good, if you have that character to lead your people, then that would be still good. So that would be the first thing that we need to still remember, that a future leader should have this emotion. Second, it would have to be a leader knows how to manage his subordinates, wherein it it is also imperative to at least that leader has the capacity to lead, not just being a leader, but also um, someone who can um, lead, who can be the voice to its people. Because without its people, leaders should never be, should, it is impossible to lead without its people. And the third thing that we need to remember, it's leaders should be um, intelligent. Wherein if uh, a leader knows how to act, a leader knows how to um, give something to its people, because this is also important. And a performance being command and fame will follow if you have that character, a character wherein you can um, lead, you can pacify your people. And what I love being true to yourself also is to, it makes you it makes the real you as well. I know that we are election is fast approaching, that we still need to choose what will be the president that we want to. And as a voter, what I can suggest to my fellow youth, or to my fellow students, or to my discussions, is to have that character. It is also imperative to have that character, a character wherein it helps you as a leader to be a good leader. I know that it's not easy to lead. It takes time. You'll be um, stumble, or you'll be facing a lot of circumstances to be a leader. But if you have that character, if you have emotion within in your heart to lead, then everything will follows. This is something that we need to entail. This is something we need to remember as a voter to choose the perfect leader to lead to our country. And I am spoken.
We can understand, or he or she can understand what's going to be the best for our future.
We would be able to create a more peaceful and prosperous nation.
We know that we are in the middle of this pandemic in which we lost something that could not even help us people, that could bring us down mentally.
Today, you will be hearing a story from the collection of What Men Live By and Other Tales. The story takes the form of a parable and it concerns a king who wants to find answers to what he considers the three most important questions in life. The Three Questions by Leo Tolstoy. It once occurred to a certain king that if he always knew the right time to begin everything, if he knew who were the right people to listen to and whom to avoid, and above all, if he always knew what was the most important thing to do, he would never fail in anything he might undertake. And this thought having occurred to him, he had it proclaimed throughout his kingdom that he would give a great reward to anyone who would teach him what was the right time for every action, and who were the most necessary people, and how he might know what was the most important thing to do. And learned men came to the king, but they all answered his questions differently. In reply to the first question, one said, "To know the right time for every action, one must draw up in advance a table of days, months, years, and must live strictly according to it. Only thus could everything be done at its proper time." Other one declared, "It was impossible to decide beforehand the right time for every action, but that, not letting oneself be absorbed in idle pastimes, one should always attend to all that was going on, and then do what was most needful." Another one said again, "However attentive the king might be to what was going on, it was impossible for one to decide correctly the right time for every action, but that he should have a council of wise men who would help him to fix the proper time for everything." But then again one said, There were some things which could not wait to be laid before a council, but about which one had at once to decide whether to undertake them or not. But in order to decide that, one must know beforehand what was going to happen. It is only a magician who knew that. And therefore, in order to know the right time for every action, one must consult magicians. Equally various were the answers to the second question. Some said the people the king most needed were his counselors. Others said the priests. Others said the doctors. While some said the warriors were the most necessary. To the third question, as to what was the most important thing to do, some replied that the most important thing in the world was science. Others said it was skill in welfare, and others again said that it was religious worship. All the answers being different, the king agreed with none of them, and gave the reward to none. But still wishing to find the right answer to his questions, he decided to consult a hermit, widely known for his wisdom. The hermit lived in a wood which he never quitted, and he received none but common folk. So the king put on his simple clothes, and therefore, reaching the hermit's cell, dismounted from his horse, and leaving his bodyguard behind, went on alone. When the king approached, the hermit was digging the ground in front of his hut. Seeing the king, he greeted him and went on digging. The hermit was frail and weak, and each time he stuck his spade into the ground and turned a little earth, he breathed heavily. The king went up to him and said, "I have come to you, wise hermit, to ask you to answer 3 questions." The hermit listened to the king, but answered nothing. He just spat on his hand and recommenced digging. "You are tired," said the king. Let me take the spade and work a while for you." "Thanks," said the hermit, and giving the spade to the king, he sat down on the ground. King stopped and repeated his questions. The hermit again gave no answer, but rose. The sun began to sink behind the trees, and the king at last stuck the spade into the ground and said, "I came to you, wise man, for an answer to my questions. If you can give me none, tell me so, and I will return home." "Here comes someone running," said the hermit. "Let us see who it is." The king turned around and saw a bearded man come running out of the wood. The man held his hands pressed against his stomach, and blood was flowing from under them. When he reached the king, he fell, fainting into the ground, moaning feebly. The king and the hermit unfastened the man's clothing. There was a large wound in his stomach. The king washed it as best as he could, and bandaged it with his handkerchief, and with a towel the hermit had. But the blood would not stop flowing, and the king again and again removed the bandage, soaked with warm blood, and asked for something to drink. The king, with the hermit's help, carried the wounded man into the hut, and laid him on the bed. Lying on the bed, the man closed his eyes and was quiet, but the king was so tired and also fell asleep. When he awoke in the morning, it was long before he could remember where he was, or who was the strange bearded man lying on the bed and gazing intently at him with shining eyes. "Forgive me," said the bearded man in a weak voice. "I do not know you and have nothing to forgive you for," said the king. "You do not know me, but I know you. I am the enemy of yours who swore to revenge himself on you because you executed my brother and seized my property. I know you had gone alone to see the hermit, and I resolved to kill you on your way back. But the day passed, and you did not return, so I came out from my ambush to find you. And I came upon your bodyguard, and they recognized me and wounded me. I escaped from them, but should have bled to death had you not dressed my wound. I wished to kill you, and you have saved my life. Now, if I live, and you wish it, I will serve as your most faithful slave, and I will bid my sons to do the same. Forgive me." The king was very glad to have made peace with his enemy so easily, and to have gained him for a friend The king went on and looked around for the hermit. He wished once more to beg an answer to his questions he had put. The hermit was outside. The king approached him and said, "For the last time, I pray you to answer my questions, wise man." "You have already been answered," said the hermit, still crouching on his legs and looking up at the king who stood before him. "How answered? What do you mean?" asked the king. "Do you not see?" replied the hermit. "If you had not petted my weakness yesterday, and had not dug those weeds for me, but had gone your way, that man would have attacked you, and you would have repented of not having stayed with me. So the most important time was when you were digging the weeds, and I was the most important man, and to do me good was your most important business. Afterwards, when that man ran to us, the most important time was when you were attending to him, for if you have not bound up his wounds, he would have died without having made peace with you. So he was the most important man, and what you did for him was your most important business. So always remember, there is only one time that is important, now, because it is the only time when we have any power. The most necessary man is he with whom you are, and the most important affair is to do him good, because for that purpose alone was man sent into this life. The end.
Good day, everyone. I am Gemma Grace Llamas from Vicente Mercer. And today, I have a story that I want to share with you. It was entitled, How Your Attitude Defines Your Life. It was published by Adair to Do Motivation, and I really hope that you'll get motivated. So, I have a question. Are you aware of your attitude? How do you handle it? This is the story of the manager of a restaurant in America. Let's call him Jerry. So, Jerry is always in a good mood and always has something positive to say. When someone would ask him how he was doing, he would always reply, "If I were any better, I would be twins." Many of the waiters at his restaurant quit their jobs when he changed job. They would follow him around from restaurant to restaurant. The reason why the waiters followed Jerry was because of his amazing attitude. He was a natural motivator. When an employee was having a bad day, Jerry was always there, telling that employee on how to look on the positive side of the situation. Seeing his style made everyone curious. So one day, someone went up to Jerry and asked him, "I don't get it. No one can be a positive person all of the time. How do you do it?" And so Jerry replied, "Each morning I wake up and I say to myself, I have two choices today. I can choose to be in a good mood or I can choose to be in a bad mood. And I always choose to be in a good mood. Each time something bad happens, I can choose to be a victim or I can choose to learn from it. And I always choose to learn from it. Every time someone comes to me complaining, I can choose to accept their complaining or I can point out the positive side of life. And I always choose the positive side of life." Now, several years later, that someone heard that Jerry accidentally did something you are never supposed to do in a business restaurant in New York. He left the back of the door of his restaurant open one morning and was robbed by 3 armed men. While trying to find the safe, Jerry, his hand shaking from nervousness, slipped off the combination. And the robbers panicked and shot him. The same person several years ago saw Jerry again, about 6 months after the accident. When he asked him how he was doing, Jerry replied, "If I were any better, I would be twins. Want to see my scars?" But that person declined to see his wounds, but did ask him what had gone through his mind as the robbery took place. The first thing that went through my mind was I should have locked the back door, Jerry said. But then, after they shoot me, as I lay on the floor, I remember I had two choices. I could choose to live or I could choose to die. And I choose to live. And that person asked again, "Weren't you scared?" And so Jerry continued, "The paramedics were great. They kept telling me that I was going to be fine. But when they wheeled me into that emergency room, and I saw the expressions on the faces of the doctors and nurses, I got really scared. In their eyes, I could read, 'He's a dead man.' I knew I needed to take action." Out of curiosity, that person asked again, "So what did you do?" Jerry replied, "Well, there was a big nurse shouting questions at me. She kept asking me if I was allergic to anything. And I said yes. The doctors and nurses stopped working as they waited for my reply. And what I did was, I took a deep breath and whispered, 'Bullets.' Over their laughter, I told them, 'I am choosing to live. Please operate me as if I am alive, not dead.' And so Jerry lived, thanks to the skills of the doctors and nurses that time. But have you ever wondered what the other reason why Jerry survived that time was? Yes, it was because of his amazing attitude. So now, what you see in life, in your life, we can learn from that today. That every day, we have the choice to either enjoy our life or to hate it. The only thing that is truly yours, that no one can control or take away from you, is your attitude. So if you can handle that, if you can take care of that, then everything else in life becomes much more easier for you. And that was the story of how your attitude defines your life. Again, I am Gemma Grace Llamas from Vicente Mercer. Thank you.
Hello there! Have you heard about the story of the Pau? No? Well, that's understandable, since this story came from the elders of Negros Island. But don't worry, because today you're in for a treat. I will tell you the story of the Pau. Long time ago, in a very faraway land of Negros, there lived a couple whose name is Inday and Tuto. They are living a very simple life. Both of them are happy, even if there's just the two of them. But then, they became even happier when Inday got pregnant and gave birth to a little boy whom they call, what do you think was his name? That's right, his name is the Pau. When the Pau was just a little kid, he was very strong, that he can even manage to grab and pull their belly floor with his little arms. Because of his superhuman strength, the Pao also loves to eat so much. In fact, he can finish 5 gentangs of rice in just one meal. At first, his parents were happy about it, but when the Pao grew older, it became a problem because the Pao would eat all the food on the table and leave nothing, even for his parents. In short, his parents are often hungry, despite working so hard to earn money for their food. So Toto hatched a plan to kill the Pao. He talked to his wife about it, and she agreed without hesitation. The next day, Toto called the Pao. "Pao, Pao, let's go to the hills. Let's go get some firewood." "Yes, Pang, let's go, let's go." The Pao answered excitedly, because that's what they always do. The two of them walked to the hill, and when they reached there, his father climbed in a big tree. When Toto was high up on a branch, he shouted to the Pao, "Pao, Pao, when I cut this branch, you catch it, okay?" The Pao answered excitedly, "Yes, Pang, I'm ready," said the Pao. But little did the Pao knew that the branch was so huge and heavy that when he caught it, he was buried on the ground. Toto came down from the tree and walked home like nothing happened, leaving his poor child buried on the ground. While Inday and Toto are eating inside their house, they heard a very familiar voice. "Mom, Mom, where do I put this trunk?" And there the two of them ran outside and saw that it was the Pao carrying a big branch of tree on his shoulder. "Mom, Mom, if you wanted me to die, I'll just go away. Just cook me and make me a 3 big puto and a sharp sword." So Toto and Inday made him 3 big puto and a sharp sword. After that, the Pao began his journey. He walked through many hills, encountered animals like snakes along the way. When it was getting so dark, the Pao felt hungry and tired, so he rested on a big tree. While he was eating his puto, he heard a stomping of feet. "What was that?" he said. "Doosh, doosh, ho, 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 doosh, doosh, ho, ho, ho." And there the Pao saw a very big giant in front of him. So the Pao hid on the hole of the tree. "Doosh, doosh, ho, 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 doosh, doosh." I can smell a kid." So the giant put his very big hand and reached through the hole where the Pao was hiding. He grabbed his legs and pulled him out. Yum yum. It seems like I'm going to have a very delicious dinner tonight." But the Pao was not afraid of the giant. He took his sword and slashed the hand of the giant. The Pao fell on the ground, but he did not run away. He fought the angry giant. When the giant fell on its knees, the Pao climbed to its shoulder and put his sword on its neck. "Oh, please, please, don't kill me, I'm begging you, please." will not kill you if you will not eat me, said the bow to the giant. Yes, I promise I will not eat you. Please, just don't kill me, the giant begged to the bow. What do you think happened next? The bow did not kill the giant. In fact, they became friends from that day. Together, they lived on that very hill. And that was the story of the bow. Thank you for listening, and I really hope you enjoyed it.
The synergy of talent and hard work. The continuous dribbling of a basketball against the concrete floor can be heard within the walls of the gymnasium. The players of the varsity basketball team were training rigorously for the past consecutive days in preparation for the upcoming intercollegiate tournament. Harriet, the team shooting guard, was more driven to practice more than anyone, and their captain, also their point guard, who was already at his senior year. Callum has been observing him in the entire durations of his dribbling. Soon after, Harriet positions himself in the three-point line in a shooting stance. He angles his right arm and releases the ball. It went in. Callum grinned and he expected as much. That was fantastic. It didn't even touch the rim. Callum clapped at a rather leisurely pace and acted as though sobbing. You can score at least three-fourths of our total. Hands down. Harriet scolded him. Stop talking in gibberish. Coming from you who can score from midcourt, Harriet can't help but reply, teeming with sarcasm and bitterness. Callum, devious as he is, yielded. He even brushed off his shoulder and said, I apologize. What can I do? I am so cool. The narcissistic remark earned an eye roll from Harriet. Must be nice to be as talented as you, Harriet told, nonchalant. That shows Callum. He eyed Harriet, vexed. If you put it like that, it will sound as if I didn't put in hard work in the things I do. Haven't done anything. It was Harriet's turn to become silent. He didn't mean for his words to come across as rude or anything. Callum then added, You know, even Mutakarin would agree. No amount of natural talent trumps hard work. I would rather be complimented through hard work than mere talent, as the latter doesn't weigh much to me. Harriet smiled genuinely, delighted at the words of his senior. Callum does get deep and insightful at times. This is just one of those times he transitions into his sage mode, though Hart's reply was more casual. Fine, but please, I've had enough of your anime references. Which anime series is it this time? Callum snickered. It was from Free. You should watch it. It is in the sports genre too. Days pass by and the Sport Fest commenced. The intercollegiate basketball tournament is greatly hyped up. Banners were everywhere. The college dean was summoned on stage to give their welcoming address. Nonescost heads to attentions to be recognized as locally competent. Hence, we built several multi-purpose edifices, installed modern equipment and apparatuses to further ensure that such an environment will prove itself conducive to learning. The basketball game was presided by the committee. The players were introduced individually. As Harriet David was called, the crowd's cheers were relentlessly loud, but the subject of the immense attentions was occupied. His eyes only darted at a certain summons along with the front benches. Harriet's girlfriend, Vanna, was clad in a shirt with his profile picture and face printed in it. She was also waving a placard which says, Go my Harriet David, my MVP. Harriet's cheeks immediately heated up. And of course, he was teased by his teammates. They played well in the first quarter and in the second quarter as well. Harriet scored the highest number of points. We are doing well. So far, team, we can do this. Win or lose, it doesn't matter. Just pour in your everything, though of course. It will be nice if we do end up as the champion, or I'm crying on you all day. Everyone laughed it off. Harriet could only shake his head. Callum took a seat only to pressure them more. But interesting enough, They all feel the same way. It was an athlete's impulse, desire, burning, but their momentum was thwarted. They suffered an upset. The team was immobilized. Harriet was heavily guarded. Even Column's passes couldn't get through. They were in distress. The opponent was catching up, and by the start of the fourth quarter, their scores were even. All of the players inside the court were sweating incessantly, but they seemed to not mind. Their focus unwavering. They were in a minute before the game ends when their coach called for a timeout. The opponent was a point ahead of them. The stress was written all over their faces. Even the carefree column seemed unsettled. Harriet was busy wiping off his sweat when Callum went to him. I will pass you the ball, whatever it takes. By then, it's all up to you. Harriet, I believe in you. They went back into the game, same as before. Harriet was a tough barricaded, but Callum, being Callum, fought his way towards a position and successfully took the ball. Harriet didn't waste time, as he barely had time anyway. 6 seconds. He only 6 seconds left. It even positions himself properly, but he was confident. He was partially aware that he is at his shooting range. He practiced almost every day with an average of 9 out of 10. Harriet knew he can shoot from her rather effortlessly. It went in. Didn't even come into contact with the rim nor the backboard, let alone. It was a buzzer beater. A winning shot.
The story of an hour. Knowing that Mrs. Mullard was afflicted with a heart trouble, great care was taken to break to her as gently as possible the news of her husband's death. It was her sister Josephine who told her in broken sentences, veiled hints that revealed in half concealing. Her husband's friend Richards was there too, near her. It was he who had been in the newspaper office when intelligence of the railroad disaster was received, with Brentley Mullard's name leading the list of killed. He had only taken the time to assure himself of its truth by a second telegram, and had hastened to forestall any less careful, less tender friend in bearing the sad message. She did not hear the story as many women would have heard the same, with a paralyzed inability to accept its significance. She wept at once, with sudden wild abandonment in her sister's arms. But when the storm of grief had spent itself, she went away to her room alone. She would have no one follow her. There stood, facing the open window, a comfortable, roomy armchair. Into this, she sank, pressed down by a physical exhaustion that haunted her body and seemed to reach into her soul. She could see in the open square before her house the tops of trees that were a-quiver with the new spring of life. The notes of a distant song, which someone was singing, reached her faintly, and countless sparrows were twittering in the eaves. She sat with her head thrown back upon the cushion of the chair, quite motionless, except when a sob came up into her throat and shook her. As a child who has cried itself to sleep continues to sob in its dreams. She was young, with a fair, calm face, whose lines bespoke repression and even a certain strength. But now, there was a dull stare in her eyes, whose gaze was fixed away off yonder on one of those patches of blue sky. It was not a glance of reflection, but rather indicated the suspension of intelligent thought. There was something coming to her, and she was waiting for it fearfully. What was it? She did not know. It was too subtle and elusive to name. But she felt it, creeping out of the sky, reaching toward her through the sound, the scents, the color that filled the air. Now her bosom rose and fell tumultuously. She was beginning to recognize this thing that was approaching to possess her. She was striving to beat it back with her will, as powerless as her two white slender hands would have been. When she abandoned herself, a little whispered word escaped her slightly parted lips. She said it over and over under the breath. Free. Free. Free! The vacant stare and the look of terror that had followed it went from her eyes. They stayed keen and bright. Her pulses beat fast, and the coursing blood warmed and relaxed every inch of her body. She did not stop to ask if it were or were not a monstrous joy that held her. A clear and exalted perception enabled her to dismiss the suggestion as trivial. She knew that she would weep again when she saw the kind, tender hands folded in death, face that had never looked save with love upon her, fixed and gray and dead. But she saw beyond that bitter moment a long procession of years to come that would belong to her absolutely. And she opened and spread her arms out to them in welcome. There would be no one to live, for during those coming years, she would live for herself. There would be no powerful will bending hers in that blind persistence which men and women believe they have a right to impose a private will upon a fellow creature. A kind intention or a cruel intention made the act seem no less a crime as she looked upon it in that brief moment of illumination. And yet, she had loved him sometimes. Often she had not. What did it matter? What could love, the unsolved mystery, count for in face of this possession of self-assertion, which she suddenly recognized as the strongest impulse of her being? Free. Body and soul free, she kept whispering. Josephine was kneeling before the closed door with her lips to the keyhole, imploring for the admission. Louise, open the door! I beg, open the door! You will make yourself ill! What are you doing, Louise? For heaven's sake, open the door! Go away! I am not making myself ill! No. She was drinking in a very elixir of life throughout that open window. Her fancy was running riot along those days ahead of her. Spring days and summer days and all sorts of days that would be her own. She breathed a quick prayer that life might be long. It was only yesterday she had thought with a shudder that life might be long. She arose at length and opened the door to her sister's importunities. There was a feverish triumph in her eyes, and she carried herself unwittingly like a goddess of victory. She clasped her sister's waist, and together they descended the stairs. Richard stood waiting for them at the bottom. Someone was opening the front door with a latch key. It was Brentley Mallard who entered, a little travel-stained, composedly carrying his gripsack and umbrella. He had been far from the scene of the accident and did not even know there had been one. He stood amazed at Josephine's piercing cry, at Richard's quick motion to screen him from the view of his wife. When the doctors came, they said she had died of heart disease, of the joy that kills. Now, the story has been intense, and it brought us into this a roller coaster of emotions, and we can come up into a conclusion that not all the time the joy that we all know doesn't lead to a happy ending.
Audio Jungle.
He had only taken the time to assure himself of its truth by a second telegram.
lived in a wood which he never quitted, and he received none but common folk.
How answered excitedly, "Yes, ma'am, I'm ready, I'm ready," said Pao.
We would like to congratulate and recognize the hard work that our contest headmaster, Professor Marlene Mangulagnan, has put in to make this event a reality.
We would also want to thank the presence of our contestants, coaches, and participating team for their participation.
We'd like to thank the Culture, Arts, and Sports Office production team, coordinated by Professor Hernanesika Bahaga, for making this event a success.
The commemoration of our virtual murals does not stop here, because we are still having the next episode, which will be aired on November 5, 2021 at exactly 1 p.m. And every one of you shall be there.
Everyone is encouraged to watch, which will be uploaded on the social media platforms of Nonescost. Once again, good day, and always remember, your failure does not define your existence. I am Armand Christian Magna.
And your failure is not to be final. I am Elijah C. Lumatag. And we are your hosts for today. We hope you enjoyed our today's episode. Thank you, and God bless us all.